Module C, you get 40 minutes as well, and it's also worth 20 marks. But here's the real pro tip here. If you can do that, if you can do the whole Module C in less than 30 minutes, then you're in a really good spot. In Module C, with your compositions, they will typically not require as many words to get full marks. So you can have a shorter Module C composition than you would if you were to write the equivalent of an essay. With Module C, if you're doing a persuasive, discursive, or imaginative composition, and you'll be doing one of those, okay, you'll at least be doing one of those in the composition part of that paper for Module C, the craft of writing. When you're doing your composition, does the marker know if you didn't write everything you wanted to write? What about with an essay? Would it be pretty obvious if you didn't finish? They'll know you didn't finish. They'll see it structurally. They'll say, where's the conclusion? Or they'll say, oh, half of it, you only wrote half of that body paragraph, and then you have a half a sentence, you have half a sentence as a conclusion. So it's very obvious to the marker that you haven't satisfied the structural requirements of the essay, because you in fact haven't. But with Module C, with the composition, because you're writing creatively, there is no set structure that a marker is expecting. Does that make sense to everyone? So you can actually finish way earlier than you wanted to because you were running out of time, and you can still get full marks. So my point is, you can get full marks writing a lot less in Module C. So that has two implications. The first is definitely do Module C last. I would recommend doing paper 2 in order. I recommend doing the whole exam in order. I don't think there's any kind of sneaky tactic of doing one section before another. I would definitely do Module C last, because what happens, someone answer this, why do Module C last based on what I just said? If the marker doesn't know where you meant to finish your piece, therefore you can write less and still get full marks, why does that make sense to do it last? If you had to cut it short, now why might you have to cut it short? Because Module A and Module B might have taken more time than you wanted. Does everyone understand that? If you took too much time on Module A and Module B, which we'll try to avoid, but it may happen, we're trying to avoid it by having those shorter drafts. Okay, this is all about strategy. Make sure those drafts aren't exceeding those time limits there, 34 minutes, 32. But if you do go a little bit over because you got a really hard question and you had to spend more time thinking about it, which is not a bad thing. It's good if you're thinking about the question and trying to adapt it. With Module C, let's say you've only got 30 minutes left on the clock. That's actually not, that's fine. You want to be in a good spot where you're like, oh, I don't need the full 40. So if I can do my drafts in less than 30 and I have like kind of an emergency kind of finish point where, okay, I'm not going to be able to write everything I wanted to here, including the adaptations, but I can chop out the last 2 or 3 or I shouldn't say body paragraphs, but I can chop out like maybe a quarter of my response that I wanted to write. Well, that's great. You can chop it out. You can still go really well. And then you can do potentially even a slightly shorter reflection as well and still get full marks. So the idea is you can still get full marks in Module C with a lot less time allocated. So therefore do Module C last, because if you're running short on time, it meant you spent more time on those essays. Hopefully you finished them, and then you can afford to lose a bit on Mod C. Don't make that happen just because I've said that. Like, it's ideal that you have the 40 minutes left for Module C. I'm just saying worst case scenario, I would want to be finishing with Mod C versus an essay. Because if I only had 30 minutes left for a Module B essay and I was doing that last, I'd be quite stressed because I'm like, well, it takes me 32 minutes to do my draft. So now I'm going to have to cut out heaps. So you don't want to be in that situation.